According to Vladimir Putin's people, today's events are a vindication. The West is fragmenting, the Kremlin spokesman declared today, just as President Putin long said it would. Telling an interviewer this weekend, US foreign policy goals are now more aligned with Moscow. The confrontation between President Trump and President Zelenskyy playing on TV here all weekend. Translated into Russian. Some reports describing the meeting as a public execution and a train wreck. One reason for the optimism here in Russia, President Putin has long called for President Zelenskyy to resign.
Thank you very much.
That call now echoed by President Trump himself.
And if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long.
Russia is feeling emboldened, now doubling down on its demands as part of peace negotiations, including a reversal of NATO expansion, its foreign ministry spokeswoman said, asking for a commitment that NATO won't operate in Ukraine or Eastern Europe.
You don't have the cards right now.
Moscow trying to exacerbate what is already a diplomatic crisis between America and Europe. Russia's foreign minister suggesting that while the US wants an end to the conflict, Europe insists on war. And its former president and prime minister, Dmitry Medvedev, asserting Russia could get normalization with the US, effectively an end to sanctions without an end to the war. Tonight, Russia believes it is winning. Ironically, that makes President Trump's hoped-for ceasefire harder to achieve.
Keir Simmons joins us tonight from Moscow. Keir, I want to go back to a bit there in your report where you talk about how Russia is doubling down on what they're asking for, what it will take for them to come to the negotiating table. Explain to our viewers what they want out of all of this.
Well, you know, Tom, in many ways, Russia's demands have simply not changed. Even going back to 2014, when President Putin annexed Crimea, you'll remember that he was insisting that NATO should not be close to Russia's borders. That is the same kind of demand, as I mentioned in my report there, that we're hearing from Russian officials, even in the past few days. But in another sense, Russia's demands have changed because, as I mentioned, it does seem as if Russian officials here now think that they might be able to get the US to agree to lessen sanctions, even remove them, to go towards normalization, perhaps even to begin to trade with Russia again, even if there is not a deal over Ukraine. If that did happen, if it did, that would be stunning.
And then, Keir, I do want to ask you, you mentioned how Putin has felt emboldened, right, with what happened in the Oval Office last week. But it's been 3 years of war. What does the public in Russia say about this conflict?
Yeah. Well, from the Russians that I've spoken to over the years and in recent months, Tom, and also from the limited polling that we know about in Russia, the Russian people are tired of the war. On the other hand, many of them are not close to the war. Here in Moscow, we're hours and hours away from Ukraine and that conflict there. And what the Russians say, what many Russians say, mostly, is that they would like to see a ceasefire, but only on Russia's terms. They do not want to see Russia lose. And I suppose in that sense, that really surmises why it is going to be so difficult to get to a deal.
Keir Simmons and his team reporting from inside Russia tonight. Keir, we thank you for that.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.